Good morning from Walla Walla, Washington. Now, the Sunnen hone is an interesting device and it can be super high accuracy. And this here is the original Sunnen hone made by Donald J. Sunnen in 1921. So they were using these on old Model A's and stuff like that. And they called it a cylinder grinder. And it does grind and all that, but the one thing about a hone is you can't change the location of a hole. Like if you were internal grinding with a cylindrical grinder, you could offset your piece 10 thousandths and keep grinding until it cleaned up and you effectively move the center of the hole over. You can't do that with a Sunnen hone. It follows the easiest path. So if you got kind of a wavy hole or a little bit of a worn hole, it'll follow the easiest path through that, which is generally the path that it was originally drilled or created or bored or something like that. And this thing is kind of an interesting design and maybe not like you think it is. Now, it's got 4 pieces that expand here on a gear rack. And this part's a shoe, just plain aluminum or whatever kind of metal it is. And then here's the stone here. And the shoe's guide and center. Now, this is like for cylinders. You can do automotive, they did, and motorcycle cylinders and things. And it's self-truing by reversing and going through the opposite side of the hole or cylinder. And you'll notice that the stones aren't on center. They're over. And the more accurate type hone than this, and that hone, by the way, they guarantee 1/2 thousandths for concentricity and taper in a cylinder. And that's possible too. Now, this is a more accurate mandrel here. It's called the P mandrel, and it's a solid mandrel. And it works differently. It has a wedge. Let's see if I can find, I can do it with my finger maybe. I'll pull the wedge loose and show you what that looks like. It's retained in there on this one. But it's got a wedge. And I'll push it in here, and you can see that the stone's in the slot here, and it'll rise up as the wedge is pushed in. See? Now, the machine hooks onto that, and when you let up on the pedal, it pulls this back, and then the stone pretty much retracts on its own. And the stones are real easy to change. They just snap out. Let's see if I can snap it out. Just like that. So you can change the stones very easy. They got this little slot here. You can look down in there and see that wedge. I think I can pop it up. See? Yeah. And it's got that little ramp there that catches these things. That little spot in here. Okay. Now, the accuracy on this, generally 50 millionths on a hole. And it's a relatively simple machine that gives you extreme accuracy. Oh, my heater's coming on. But this is the type of tool that's used to create air spindles. Now, I moved most of the machine downstairs. Let's go have a look at it. I've got the head off the machine down here on a bench to clean it up, and I've got the this mandrel in here. Let's see if you could see that. I'll have to take a look from behind. It looks pretty good. I think you can see okay. Well, this is the same type of mandrel that takes the same stones as the early version. Now, this antique version here, they still make it, it's very usable, is gear driven. It's got a planetary gear here. I think you can see if I turn it. It kind of does an eccentric thing here. Then it grabs those teeth on the outside here. And you can quick adjust it this way by pulling that out. And the stones will quickly adjust. And then you push it in. And then that gear engages. I'll pull it almost closed here. Engage it. And then when you turn this, then it expands the stones. Okay? Now, this one does the same thing, but from up here on this dial. So I'll crank this dial back, and you should see these stones retract. I think that's the end there, and we'll go the other way. This is real stiff, and this is one reason it's good that I'm taking the machine apart, because over the years it's gotten very gummy to where it's hard to work these. Now the stones are expanding. So what happens with this one, instead of gear pressure, it uses spring pressure. Now here is the heavy spring pressure here. It was all the way on. And if you don't need so much spring pressure, like for smaller honing mandrels, then you use the light pressure up here. Light honing pressure. So the advantage of this over that is adjustable pressure, where this is rigid, and this here, you have spring pressure behind it. I got this in my pocket of bringing it down. And then also to an advantage, there's a dial indicator that goes up into here, and as your it's reverse reading, see? And as your hole gets bigger, it indicates it here on the dial, as this automatically expands from the spring pressure. So you get a relative reading off this dial. And I'm going to say relative because the stones get grind down a little bit, and that affects, as you're grinding away, the stones get smaller in size, and that affects this. So that's why you got to check quite often your part, and you get used to it. It's something. This is a machine that I think anybody can use if they can tolerate the oil, and but it takes a little bit of time to learn how to use it, and it's just not that hard. And I actually quite like this machine. I'll set this over here so I don't break it. You can see it's a little gummy. So I got to clean that up. Just the nature of the machine. So you can use this type of mandrel here, or this type here, the single stone P-type mandrels. And the automotive machines are painted red. No, the only difference, I've really done a lot of research on it, and I've used the red machines, and the only difference I can find is that some of the automotive uh, red machines don't have as high a speed because they don't need it. Um, this one goes up to 1600. And then they are listing hones as small as 1/16 of an inch. I don't know if it has it on this part or not. 1/16 of an inch up to, I guess, 6-inch light honing using this type of mandrel, the A-type mandrel. And some of this stuff's kind of expensive. This here, back 30 years ago, it's the AN600 mandrel. And this here, I believe, is called the AN110 or 112. They changed it a little bit. This is an earlier one. I know it's a 110. Well, back then, the AN600 cost $600. I think that's what the deal with that is. And the last time I looked, they're kind of hard to find, and they were going for that much or more on famous auction sites. So, but you can actually make money with this machine because it's kind of unique. Of course, you can do all kinds of motorcycle cylinders and many hydraulic things like that. And then plus, this is the machine using this type of mandrel, but larger. I got larger ones stuck around here that you can do air bearings with. This is, I looked at the Harig and it looked to me to be Sunnen owned. Okay, so that's what I'm doing, and it's all, the machine, like I say, is really gummy, and I haven't done it yet. I'm gonna roll it on its side and get a light in there and see what it looks like up inside. Okay, I'll reposition the camera for that. Yeah, this is the back side here. Now, the electric motor sits up here and it has a pulley just like that. And so the belt will pull this up. And you can see how the belt works. It's not in the right spot here. There we go. Then it's got a high and low speed. It's got another flat belt back here. And that's kind of the difference of the 1600 series. Then these two pulleys on a cam, that's one of the things that's stuck. I'm always using low speed on this, most always. There, see, that would bring, yeah, that brought low speed tight. And the high speed's back here, and you flip the lever up. Yeah, that's all pretty gummy. I'll get that working good. That should work real smooth. And all this stuff's got bearings in it I gotta take a look at. So I pull it tight there, and it leaves the low speed belt loose and pulls the high speed there. Then you got 6 screws on the pulley here, and that with the high and low gives you 12 speeds on this. Have a look around on it. Then when you let up on the brake, this engages here and it's engaged. And I pull up on it. This is a cloth band right here that works on that part of the big pulley where my finger's pointing. And that acts as the brake. So when you let up on the lever, it engages the brake and then releases the stones by pulling the wedge back. Okay, we'll have a quick look on the inside. Okay, here's the inside, and you can see all the caked on oil on all this stuff. And all this stuff's kind of harder to turn than it should be. This is the spring, high spring pressure. Now, this is a model 1600. It's over 50 years old, made in 1968. And the model before this was the 1290. And that one didn't have the fine spring pressure portion up here, so the top was a little bit shorter. And it wasn't quite as sophisticated, but a very good hone. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to clean this up. I got to get the base down here and all this stuff just cleaned up and put back together. Okay, I'll be back with more. Here's something interesting you don't see every day. A more Nanotech diamond turning lathe. In excellent condition. Only $250,000, and with the coupon code you get $5 off. Let's look at this thing a little bit. I think this computer works a lot better than my older one. I don't know, looks like a port, one end, control, other end, there's the identification plate, there's the headstock. Now, this thing, of course, cost in the millions of dollars. Doesn't look like there's a tailstock. Maybe it doesn't need one, huh? You could call more. There's a place for one, though, isn't there? It's missing $1 million part. Now, what would you turn on the Nanotech diamond turning lathe? Would likely be glass, composites, ceramics, to extreme high accuracy. Now, this is local thing. This thing's sitting 10 miles from me. And I just happened on this. This guy sells a lot of surplus stuff. You can find this on eBay by typing in more diamond turning lathe. And some handful of cables. I get back to this one photo here. Look at this other stuff, these old motorcycles, and you can see the other stuff this fellow has for sale. He did not pay more for that than he did for one of these motorcycles. So if you're looking for one of these, you know, you're going to have to beat this guy or other people that do this stuff. And what I find interesting about items like this, a big corporation is not likely to buy this. It's got some watchers. Like big corporations buy stuff like this new, and usually the government pays for it. As you know, for the type of work, it'd have to be related to that. Or, you know, just absolutely the biggest corporations. I would expect this came out of Hanford, like a lot of this stuff. Well, I thought you might find that interesting. These brokers of junk, like this, of technical junk, often get some pretty nice machines. You can see he's got a south-pinned lathe for a pretty hefty price. But, you know, he tends to sell stuff. But he'll take the best offer on this one anyway. Okay, I thought you might find that entertaining. Have a good one. I will be back before Christmas, I'm sure.